I'm going to share with you the 6 brutal truths of running a business that's generating over $100,000 a month consistently. If you're a coach, consultant, or agency owner, this video is going to be for you. Now, my name is Audate. I've been running businesses for the last decade and making well over 6 figures a month. And I'm going to share with you the systems that I saw that really I didn't know until I got there. First one is going to be the brutal truth number 1. Growth does not happen through more activity. When you're making $15,000, $20,000, $25,000, $30,000 a month, usually the way you get there is by producing more activity. And what got you there to multiple 5 figures a month is not going to get you to 6 figures a month. And it's not a motivational quote, it's the reality, because you only have 24 hours in a day. I was watching a video on Instagram that explained the life of someone who makes 6 figures versus the life of someone who makes just under 5 figures, like making like $8,000, $9,000, $10,000 a month. And their lives are completely different. The one who's making 6 figures has different meetings throughout the day, has a completely different mindset. And what's going to help you get to the next level is something called leverage. This is where you're using other people's time, energy, money, resources. You're using other people to help you grow rather than your own activity. And the way that you do that is through leveraging. So there's an activity trap that I wrote down here in one of my notes where hustling harder actually caps you. By hustle, this hustle culture is actually slowing you down by hustling more. So because you run out of hours, that's the reality. You run out of hours. And I'm going to give you a scenario here. So let's say as a consultant or a coach, you're looking to grow your business. And let's look at sales calls. You want to make more revenue. In a week, how many sales calls can you do? Realistically, I've done the math for so many. I mean, there's going to be some people who can do more, some people who do less. But realistically, if you look at a salesperson's calendar, you're doing about 4 calls. Because if you're going to do the call correctly, you're preparing for the call. That takes you about 30 minutes. On the call, it's going to take you about an hour during the actual call. So preparing for the call, you're looking at that person's LinkedIn, you're looking at that person's social media accounts, you're looking at that person's intake form, and so on and so forth. So you spend 30 minutes there. Then you spend an hour on the actual sales call itself. And then you spend another 30 minutes after the call entering everything in the CRM. So that's a total of 2 hours that you spent. 30 minutes before to prepare, an hour on the call, and 30 minutes after. That's 2 hours per person. And then, so if you're working an 8-hour day, that's 4 calls in a day that you could do. Now, if you take that 4 calls per day and you multiply it by 5 days in a week, you're now working 20 hours or 20, you're maxed out at 20 calls. Now, high leverage is, for example, instead of doing one-on-one calls, and a high leverage activity is doing a webinar where I put all 20 of those prospects on a same group call and I give them all the same opportunity to buy the same product. It takes me less time to sell all of those customers. So when you're scaling to 6 figures a month, what you're going to need to do is really have high leverage activities. Another thing that you can leverage is going to be acquisition. If you want to grow your revenue, you could just buy it. So you can buy revenue and not just earn it one client at a time. You can just go ahead and start acquiring different companies. So the 6-figure mindset per month, 6-figure going into 7 figures a month, the way that you're growing and scaling is you're acquiring talent, okay? And you're acquiring companies and you're acquiring different brands. So for example, in my business, I run Go High Level agencies. And one of the ways that I've grown recently is I've grown through acquisitions where I give an entrepreneur an opportunity to partner up with me, and I'll go ahead and buy out their business, give them an opportunity to have a stronger back end, and it makes them more profitable and gives them the opportunity to make more revenue, as well as it helps us grow. So partnerships is the way that you grow. All right, that's brutal truth number 1. Brutal truth number 2 is your feelings are lying to you. Numbers never lie. Numbers don't lie. Your feelings are lying to you. When you're in the hustle culture, when you're going and you're grinding, you have this gut instinct, a gut instinct to go to events and market your business, a gut instinct to do a webinar, to do sales presentation. But if you want to scale to $100,000 a month, too much noise is actually just distractions, and it actually impedes on your instincts. So the way to grow and scale to $100,000 a month, $120,000, $130,000 a month, because I've done it consistently, is going to be making data-driven decisions. You're not going based off your feelings, you're going based on the stats. I remember there was a week that I was experiencing, I was looking at my Facebook ads and I was like, am I getting customers on Facebook? I don't know. I'm looking at my Facebook ads and I'm like, am I running Facebook ads and getting customers on Facebook? And then I looked at the metrics. Now, my initial feeling was I haven't heard of customers saying, hey, I saw your Facebook ad recently. So I was going based off of my feelings. And then I went to the data and I looked at, hey, I'm getting between a 3 to 4x return on ad spend. That's 300 to 400% return on my money that I'm spending. So I said, whoa, my feelings almost lied to me in that moment. But the reality was that I was actually making money and a lot of customers came from my ads. So you got to have some dashboards. You're not looking at your moods and so on and so forth. You're not feeling the mood to make a decision. You're determining the decisions based on data. Okay. And let me share with you the investor mindset. If someone asks you like different stats, like as an investor, when an investor talks to an entrepreneur, many times what ends up happening is that the investor asks, hey, what are your stats? What's your revenue? What's your churn rate? What's your lifetime value? What's your customer acquisition cost? Like all these questions. And many times when they're asking that, one of the factors, because an investor many times is going to come into your business and they're going to say to themselves, I know exactly how to add value. But let me see if this entrepreneur specifically knows how to grow their business and knows the health of their business and knows if they're going in the right direction or if they're operating based off feelings. Because every entrepreneur knows what it feels like to operate a business off of feelings. But an investor who scaled their business at one point, scaled their business, maybe exited and is buying businesses, they're not buying businesses based off feelings. They're buying businesses based on data. And because they're buying business on data, they're going to ask you as an entrepreneur, do you have the data on your current business? Because I want to know if you know if we're going in the right direction or not and how, and so on and so forth. They don't want to teach you that. They just want to know if you know that. So if you can communicate, hey, this is my churn rate. My churn rate is at X percentage. My lifetime value is at X percentage, and my cost to acquire customers at X dollars. And because of all that, this is a healthy business. The entrepreneur is going to be like, whoa, you know your stuff. Let's work together and let's grow that. But if you're like, I don't know that information, I can get back to you, or I feel like my business is growing, then you're going to be stuck. All right. Next brutal truth is revenue is vanity. Profit is sanity. I read a book called Profit First by Mike Michalowicz. Ironically, I'm going to be speaking with him in a couple of weeks. And when you're in the hustle culture, the goal is to chase top line revenue. When you're at 6 figures a month, to sustainably grow 6 figures a month, you want to have profit on your business. And by rating profit first, there's a strategy by putting buckets of money together, meaning you take your business and you divide it by different functions and you apply a bank account for those functions. So for example, you may have a function of operating expenses, so you have a bank account just for that. You have a bank account for profit, so you have its own bank account. You have another bank account for donation if you're going to donate money. You have another bank account specifically for deposits, where all your money from Stripe and your merchant processor is going to go all into that one bank account. You have another bank account for reserve, so that way in the future if anything happens, you have enough money in the bank to protect your business. You have another bank account for reinvestment, and you have all of these bank accounts. And I know with many banks, if you get to, I think, like between $30,000 to $40,000 in a bank balance, they end up not charging you. So all these bank accounts are free if you have a bank balance with them. And then because of that, you're able to track your money, right? So there's been so many times, I know in my journey, there's been so many times where I look at the bank account. In the beginning, when you're making $15,000, $20,000, $30,000 a month in revenue, many times you'll have one bank account, maybe even two bank accounts. Like you have the checking and the savings because you learned that in middle school and high school and you kept that going. But when you're running a business, you want to have multiple bank accounts for different reasons. You want to have a bank account for attorneys. You want to have a bank account for different reasons, right? So by having these bank accounts, you know how much is in your bank account. Most entrepreneurs do bank account balancing and they make decisions based off the bank account, meaning they look at their bank account. And let's say if they have two bank accounts, a checking and savings, and for their business, which is, crazy. But let me share with you why. It's because when it comes down to making a decision for the business, you look at the bank account and let's say you see $25,000 in your bank account. You're like, oh, I got 25 grand. But then when it comes down to paying taxes and you got to pay your taxes and you're like, oh, I spent that 25,000. I don't have the tax money, right? Or when it comes down to doing payroll, oh, I spent the 25,000. I don't have payroll. So you want to separate it and have different functions. So one bank account for payroll, one bank account for taxes. And so that way when tax time comes around, you already have the money set up. When it's time to pay your team members, you already have the money set up. All right. But the only way to do that is if you have profit, and I suggest reading the book Profit first, okay? Next is going to be client retention is more valuable than client acquisition. When you're at the 5-figure mark, your goal is just to acquire customers. You're focused on acquiring customers. When you get to 6 figures a month, what ends up happening is that you start to experience churn, but primarily you get to realize how much of a mistake churn is. I would be completely at 7 figures a month if it wasn't for churn of the activities that I did at the 5-figure point when I was making 10 grand a month, 15 grand a month, so on and so forth. So I share that with you. Churn is the biggest detriment to any business. So if you're running a subscription business and you have recurring business revenue coming in, the customers that leave is the customers that should have stayed, and that's what's going to make your business grow. So yes, you can acquire a bunch of customers, but if every month you're losing customers, or if every week you're losing customers, and you acquire one customer but you lost a customer that same week, you did not grow. If you acquire 2 customers and you lost 2 customers that week, you did not grow. If you acquire 3 customers but you lost 4 customers that same week, then your business is actually declining, right? So client retention is more valuable than client acquisition. And the way that you really know as you're grinding and marketing your business and getting customers, and you're using high leverage and you're having people drive traffic into your business, the way you find out if you're declining is through the scorecard, through tracking data. Because if you're making $100,000 a month and you live financially frugal and you live off of less than 5-6 grand a month, well, you have so much delta that you may not feel it. But the way to understand if you're declining is through the data, right? And that's how you sustainably have a 6-figure a month business. All right, next brutal truth is your team will make or break you. Your team is a huge element. If you go to Audate.com, you're going to get access to my team member performance indicator or index. And I talk about the 4 levels. The level 1 is that you have just a player on your team. We call those C players. A C player on the team is going to be somebody on your team that is an underperformer. They're just barely getting the job done, and you're constantly training them. You're constantly getting on calls with them, and you're always on the fence. Should I fire them? And the reason you many times don't fire them is because you spent so much time training them that you're in your head, you're like, hey, you know what? I'd rather deal with this. I know at least what I'm getting rather than finding someone new. That's going to be a C player. A B player is going to be somebody who is a steady contributor, meaning like you assign a task to them, they will get it done. They'll get it done on time. However, they're not proactively leading in any portion of your company. They're doing everything based on you. So you become the bottleneck in that company. So you submit everything to them, and that's when they get things done. But they're not looking for things. They're not looking for problems to fix. They're not looking for issues. They're not really advocating or helping you in your mission and in your vision. The next level is the A player. The A player is going to be somebody who you can depend on, who finds issues, that they solve problems before you even found out that they were a problem. And they are reliable. They're probably going to be with you for years to come. They're probably on the more expensive side, but the return on investment is much better because of them. Meaning, for example, let's say you sell a $1,000 a month product. By having an A player, and we were just talking about churn, by having an A player, they may be retaining customers. So let's say an A player that you're spending $3,000 a month on their payroll, and you're paying them $36,000 a year. By having that A player there, and let's say that they retained 5 customers on your $1,000 a month program, that's $5 grand a month. By them retaining that $5 grand a month, they therefore solidify their salary, right? Their payroll. They're paying for themselves. But let's say you take a notch down, and instead of having an A player, you have a B player that you got to submit everything to. Well, because you're an entrepreneur, you're out there grinding, you're out there speaking, motivating, getting customers in, being the face, being the visionary. You don't have enough time to add tasks to the B player, but you're paying the B player a little bit less. You're paying them, let's say, $1,500 a month. So half. But that $1,500 a month, what ends up happening is that your customers start to churn. And let's say 5 customers cancel that were paying $1,000 a month a piece. So by having a player, you spent $3 grand to them. You're paying them for $3 grand, and then they're retaining $5 grand a month in recurring revenue because they're managing 5 of your clients that pay you $1,000 a month. That's an A player. So you have a profit there of $2 grand. Go a notch down, a B player, you're getting them a little bit cheaper, and now that team member, you're paying them $1,500 a month. Let's say that's a virtual team member. You're paying them $1,500 a month, but because you have to submit everything to them, you have to kind of oversee them. That person ends up losing 5 customers. So now you're negative $3,500. You see the difference here? Your team is going to make or break you. The last level, so the first level is going to be level C, which is level C, which is going to be an underperformer. The next level is going to be a steady contributor, which is level B. Level A is going to be someone who is A player, top of the line. Then the one after that is going to be an AI-enabled A player. An AI-enabled A player is a director of artificial intelligence on your team. They have level A qualities. They're reliable. They're proactive. However, their output is multiplied because of AI. And so let me share with you what that means. You can have a A player on your team, and they can write emails for you. They can build out email sequences, text message sequences, but also on top of that, they communicate with customers. They build a relationship with customers. They retain customers. They're really solving core issues inside of your business. However, the AI-enabled A player, what they're doing is that they're using artificial intelligence to multiply the output. So instead of them having, let's say, up to 100% a week, they're able to have 1,000% a week of results, because 10x the results that they do in your company because they use AI. So rather than them typing for an hour an email to retain or add value to customers, they're using artificial intelligence. Rather than them sending an email to a customer, like a breakdown of what their meeting said. Like, let's say your AI, your team member that's at level A team member, that person has a meeting with your client. They're building relationships with your customers, and at the end of that meeting, they write an email and they send it to your customer. When they send that to that message to your customer, to draft that email, it takes them an hour. That's an A player. You know that they're going to take care of that customer. However, an AI-enabled A player, what they're going to do is that they're going to plug in Fathom, a AI recording note taker on Zoom. So your AI-enabled A player is going to hop on Zoom with your client. They're going to bring in a note taker that's AI-enabled, and that note taker is going to transcribe the whole meeting, the back and forth. That AI-enabled A player is going to take the transcript, plug that transcript into ChatGPT, and ask ChatGPT, write me a summary for this customer of the meeting and the action steps. And it takes them less than a minute to accomplish this, and they send it to your customer. So the A player takes an hour to write that same email. An AI-enabled A player, right after the meeting is done, takes less than a minute to send them the summary. So that's an example here. That's an example of what it means that your team will make or break you. And now the next thing is scaling exposes the weak systems that you have. This is a huge one, ladies and gentlemen. So many people are like, I want to grow to 6 figures. I want to make $150,000 a month. I want to get to $250,000 a month. But let's say they're making $30,000 a month. Does everything depend on you? I'm going to ask you a question. You as an entrepreneur, does everything genuinely depend on you? As an entrepreneur, most things will depend on you. And scaling will expose the weaknesses that are in your business. So yes, if you got 100 customers this week, is your business ready for it today? Most entrepreneurs say no, like your business, you're making $20,000, $25,000, $30,000 a month. You're growing, you're handling business compared to most entrepreneurs who are just starting out. However, if you take a week off, does your business break? If you take a month off, does your business break? I'm just now getting back into the groove of things. I took the last month off. My daughter was born about a little over a month ago. I took the whole month off. But my business is managed not by me, is managed by my team. My job is to lead a vision of what the future looks like right now. At this stage, my job is to say, this is where we're going in the next 10 years. And everyone's clear on that vision. My job is to determine the core values that everyone operates under. My job is not to do the day-to-day task. My job is to be a visionary. Your job is to be a visionary. Your job is to think big and continue to think bigger and bring a group of people who you can give them a position and get out of their way. When you scale, what happens is that whatever worked at $25,000 a month will break at $100,000. So for example, payroll. If you remember that Johnny worked on Monday at between 10 a.m. to 5 p.m., because you're at 25,000, you had a small team, you're able to remember those small details. Oh yeah, Johnny did work. I'm going to pay him for that. Or that one sale, Johnny should get a commission because Johnny work that deal, I'm going to pay him. It's all based off your head. CRM, do you have a CRM, or is it based out of your notes, your phone pad? So if you don't have a CRM, your business will break at $100,000 a month without a doubt. The climbing to $100,000 is probably almost impossible without a correct CRM, because your customers will feel if you have a relationship with them or not. Okay. And the CRM is a client relationship management software. That's what my business is. I sell CRMs, and I help entrepreneurs sell their version of their CRM. So without the right CRM, you end up thinking small, because you can't generate thousands of leads, thousands of customers. All right. Customer onboarding, you're going to need that to scale. Now, is all onboarding done by you? Are you the one that's responsible for all of the onboarding? Meaning you sell and you onboard. You might have a couple of VAs, but you do everything by yourself. So the solution is that you're going to need to update and upgrade your tech stack pretty early. You want to get the right CRM in place. It's kind of like, I imagine it as like having a bucket of water. Your goal, your vision is to have a bucket of water. Do you turn on the faucet first? Like if you're looking to have a bucket of water, you're in your kitchen, do you turn on the faucet first and then you go around the house looking for the bucket of water? Do you do that? No, of course not. You find the bucket of water, then you go turn on the faucet. Same scenario here. The bucket of water is the flow of customers, like the having of the customers. That's the bucket of water. That's what it represents. Bucket of water equals money, equals customers. The flow of water from the faucet is the flow of new customers. The bucket is a system that catches those flow. Now, the CRM is going to be your bucket. When you have the CRM set up, your customer relationship management software that houses your website, your contacts, your funnels, your email marketing sequence, your automation sequences, and so on and so forth. When you have this system set up, then you're ready to grow and bring in new customers. If you don't have that set up, then you're not ready. And that's what stops most entrepreneurs from growing and scaling their business. If this was interesting to you, down below on this description, there's more information on how you can work together with me and my team if you're interested in working together. But if you found this video to be valuable, I would love if you leave a comment and like this video, and most importantly, subscribe so that way you get updates on future videos. I'll see you on the next one.